Islam makes you disciplined. You got to pray 5 times a day, certain times. I don't know, people say, I'll pray them anytime. No, there are certain times you got to pray them, otherwise you miss them.
Yeah.
And that's like boxing. You got to wake up a certain time to go for your run. Otherwise you miss the run schedule.
Yeah.
Then you got to eat a certain time to make way for the next session of training. So I think Islam and boxing actually...
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Legal Blows podcast. My guest today is probably one of the nicest person I know in the game of boxing. A really good guy. We're so privileged to have him as part of the LB family. To us, he will always be the best super middleweight in the country. Zak Chelli, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Before we start our podcast, let's start with having a sunnah shot.
Bismillah.
Zak, lovely to have you here. I think we really want to sort of dive straight in. And before we touch on the boxing side of it, I want you to tell us a bit more about yourself, sort of where you were born, raised. I know there's a few jurisdictions in play here now, so just please start off and telling us a bit about yourself.
Well, half Italian, half Tunisian. My mother's Italian, my father's Tunisian, but I was born and raised in Hammersmith and Fulham.
Right.
Born in Hammersmith, raised in Fulham. Same thing. But yeah, and basically been forced to box since I was a child. Yeah. So I've had a choice. My father was a professional boxer from Tunisia.
Right.
He moved to Italy, became Italian champion. Then he moved to England. I think became Midlands champion or something like this. Then he started a family early, so he went, boxing career didn't go so well. And then he just forced me and my brother into boxing. He said, we're going to be champions. And yes, so me and my brother became both GB champions as an amateurs.
Wow.
I boxed for England a few times. Represented England in World Championships. We had Harris Akbar this week, and we shared rooms together in Ukraine. For World Championships. Yeah, so boxed all my life since the age of 3.
Right.
And then turned pro at 18, and sort of money come in. Alhamdulillah, loved it ever since.
Okay, well, that's there's a lot to cover there. So if I may just sort of deep dive into some of that stuff. So as a British Pakistani, we sort of, a lot of us have this, we get called British born confused desis because we don't know where we're from. Are we from Pakistan? Are we from the UK? Are we Muslim or whatever? And I know when we spoke, I think soon after we first met, you sort of said, wasn't sure where to align myself. Am I Tunisian? Am I Italian, British? And then you sort of said, I'm Muslim. And that's what you sort of said, that's what I want to be known for. So do you have this sort of, what am I type of thing that we have?
I guess so. Like, I feel like I'm a Londoner, I guess.
Yeah.
And if you go to London, it's really diverse. It's so like, if you go up north, it's totally different. When you go down south, but if you go in London, it's just diverse. You see different people from all around the world, different languages spoken. So I guess I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
And a Londoner, I guess.
Yeah. And tell me, siblings.
Yeah.
Brother, you said he was a boxer as well.
One older brother. He was a boxer as well. We both 2 years older. Boxed for GB as well. Became GB champion. And then after he took the educational route where he went to do a degree at Portsmouth, and he came back. My dad was like, let's back to boxing. He said, no, I'm with a master degree up in Warwick.
Well, okay, wow, mashallah, clever guy.
Then he came back, and then he was at boxing. So no, I'm with a PhD. So now he's still doing the PhD up in Warwick University.
Wow, brilliant. And you talked about how you were forced into boxing. So tell me a bit about that, because when did that sort of boxing journey begin? I know your dad was a boxer, but when did that sort of start for you?
Honestly, as long as I can remember, I'd say there's videos of me in nappies like doing boxing. Well, I'd have a training session once a day at least. So, and I remember from I didn't know any different. I thought it was what I was meant to do.
So so you, since you were in nappies, and then how did it sort of, was it just regularly going to the I don't know, local playground or
actually like that. Well, my dad will come to my primary school in a push bike, and he'll get me and my brother, and we'd run behind him home.
Wow.
That'd be like part of the training. Then we eat quick, and then we'll have a training session. Before we went to gym, we'll go find a car park.
And how old were you here? Sorry, like roughly when you
primary school? So
primary school,
from ages 6 to 11. Yeah.
Right. So when you say forced as well, I'm assuming you didn't like that regime.
It felt like a chore. It felt like I have to run, I have to do this press up. Why are my friends going to hang out with each other after school? They get to play games, and me have to go home and do workout. And
yeah.
But then I just got used to it, so it was just part of life. But then I saw that it gave me benefits, where as in like I'd be stronger than everyone else at school. On sports day, I'd come home with 7 gold medals. So I'd been training all my life. But my dad would be the only parent there on sports day, just making sure I'd win.
So was it your dad sort of getting you into boxing because he was a boxer, or was there something else? Were you like a mischievous child, really full of energy?
I was a very good kid. I obeyed my parents. When my mum said clean up, I'd actually do only one clean the house. I'd probably have a bit of OCD from it now. Like, we'd have dinner and I'd be the first one to wipe the tables down and sweep the floor. Like, I couldn't go to sleep if I never did it.
So it sounds like because of your dad's love and passion for boxing, he wanted to instill that in yourself
Exactly.
and
Me
your
my
brother as well.
My brother, he didn't like being told what to do so much, so he went to university far away. Me, I was thinking, okay, I'll go to university and then Surrey for and I was and then maybe after university I'll get back into boxing. But I think a month before I went to uni, my dad took me to this trainer took me to a manager who took me to Frank Warren and showed how much I could be making, and because I was GB champ. He done it as he said. This is what the words he said to me. He said, "You've done it as an amateur English and GB champion. You could do it as a pro."
Why not?
I did do it as a pro. So I was English champion and GB as both amateurs and pro. So
let's sort of touch upon the amateur sort of career and the scene there. So representing your country isn't nothing small, right? It's a big thing. So how did the amateur scene kick off for you in sort of getting into the amateur fights, and how many bouts did you have?
As an amateur, I think I had 46 fights, 40 wins. But I remember when I first turned pro, it took me about a year to get my first. When I first turned amateur, it took me about a year to get my first amateur fight because my brother was the amateur 2 years prior. 2 years, he turned amateur 2 years prior, and he had really good reputation because he was beating everyone.
Wow.
And so when they heard my surname, many people avoided me. They didn't really want to fight. So after 1 year, finally, I got my first fight against Inder Bassi.
Oh yeah. He recently fought Sean Oakes, I think it was. It
was him. It was my first fight ever, and I remember my dad's got it recorded. I'm just there smiling. I'm super happy. I'm just laughing before I walk into the ring because I have to wait a whole year to get that first fight. And then whilst boxing, I'm smiling. I win that fight, and then my second fight ever was against Inder Bassi as well. So,
wow!
Because no one still wanted to fight me, but he took it.
So tough. And how many fights had he? Do you know how many fights he had?
He was I think he had 2 or 3 before that. So
a bit more experience, right? Yeah. And then sort of how did the GB? How did you get onto the GB team?
After a couple of years, then I became England champion, and once went Indian at GB tryouts, and then I represented, and they liked me after winning. I was 13 years old, I believe. 13, 14, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then our GB camp, and then England picked me to represent them in the World Championships in Ukraine. And I think I came 9th in the world in that tournament. So of only 14 fights.
Was it 14 amateur fights?
14 amateur fights, yeah.
Right, okay. So again, that recognition, amazing. Yeah. Did that sort of fighting for your country, going to Ukraine, coming 9th in the whole world, brilliant. Did that sort of inspire you to sort of, focus you more to want to achieve even more?
It really did, but actually I just hated being up in Sheffield at GB camps. I remember actually sometimes my GB letters would come home and I'd actually hide them.
So to get out of...
I hate all the way travel all the way to Sheffield and doing a training camp.
Yeah.
I just didn't like that. I didn't like it. But then that's why I think I didn't really enjoy it too much. It felt like a chore. But then when I turned pro, I enjoyed it more because I'm fighting for myself.
Okay.
I get to represent myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to listen to someone who I've just met. Like in GB camp, you go up north in Sheffield. I don't really like Northerners. You go up north Sheffield. And they'll tell you what to do. Like they haven't trained me in years. Yeah. They don't know who I am. They haven't built up with me. They don't know how I'm meant to be trained. And they just give their advice. And some of these coaches are not even that good. So that's why when I turned pro, I'm like, okay, I'm the boss now. I get to be on my team.
Right.
I can represent myself and do good name for myself. Yeah, and especially with GB camp, it's like as soon as you lose in one fight, they don't care about you anymore.
Really?
So that's how
I thought in the amateur scene it's like more acceptable to lose, and because
in amateurs, but when you're like
that GB, okay,
they want a next kid in,
right? Okay,
also wants that position,
right? Yeah. Okay, so let's then talk about the pro scene now. So you switch over, turn over to pro. How old were you then?
I turned pro. I'd done my medicals, I think, when I was 18, but had my first fight when I was 19. I had to wait 6 months for the fight. So,
okay.
So I signed with Frank Warren, a 3-year contract, and finally managed to fight in 2017 February.
Okay, so tell me, like, and we've spoken to a few amateurs now who are thinking about turning pro, and when you are transitioning and you've got to find a promoter, I'm assuming, and a manager and a team around you, a coach and all that, talk us through that process. What made you go with Frank and Queensbury and the team that you assembled?
Well, at the time, I didn't really know much about about business side of boxing. We just thought boxing is a bit like amateur boxing. You just fight, you make money, you win. Yeah. Well, we soon realized after 3 years on contract that it's totally different. It's a business. Boxing as a pro, it's not really a sport, it's a business.
Yeah.
If you win, you make it. If you lose, you start back like snake and ladders. You go straight down.
Yeah.
And there's lots of managers out there. They don't really care about you. They just want to get their cut 25%, which we found out I found out a bit late that it's actually quite a bit, 25%.
Yeah.
It's maximum 25%. So make sure you're out there when you're making your contracts. Be careful. And also the trainers out there trying to take the cut, and then even promoters out there, they don't care about you. They just want to make money from you. And especially if you're doing ticket selling, that's the hard. Alhamdulillah, because I had a great amateur background, I went straight with Frank Warren, a 3-year contract, and there wasn't like ticket selling on the contract.
Yeah.
I get paid regardless. But even then, there was still some dodgy deals.
Yeah.
But
because it's an expensive sport, right? So you've got your British Board of Box Control fees, licensing fees, nutritionists.
Medicals, by the way, brain scans went up to £600.
Wow. So your scans, medical, physical, nutrition, plus 25%, to a manager. And if you're getting value for that 25%, then I guess everyone's entitled to that. But it seems to be, from the contracts I've seen as well, 25% is the default position. But it's the maximum. It's not what it has to be, right? So,
well, to be fair to my first ever manager, Joey Pyle,
right.
To be fair to him, he was getting 25%, but he would bring me sponsorship and he would bring me money from other things and equipment and stuff. So, to be fair,
there was value there, And that's the thing. I think if you've got any member of the team who's adding value and is probably entitled to get a fair, reward for that in terms of salary or percentage. And you talked about your first manager, sort of who's helping on endorsements and promotions. What I've seen from the standard British Board of Box Control Managers Agreement, it's a template. You can't change, you can't amend it. There's certain obligations a manager has, but you can't hold them to account. Really, if they don't perform, I think there's a procedure where you can take it in front of them. But who's going to do that? And you're locked in for 3 years as well. So if they don't do what they should be doing, you can't really do much, can you? I guess.
Yeah. Well, alhamdulillah for me, I can be self-managed as I did. I think 2 years ago, I applied for the self-manager license.
Right.
But you have to hold a British license for 3 years. So I have a second license or a boxer's license. Hold it for 3 years, and then you can apply for the meet. It's like an interview, and then you have to read the whole booklet, and like they test you on some questions.
Right.
And if you pass it, they'll let you have the manager's license.
Right. So you do that yourself now. Okay. So obviously you've turned pro now. You started with Queensbury. How did the sort of story develop from there? Then you had to wait 6-7 months for your first fight, but tell us how it went from there.
Well, my father was just calling out anyone. My son's the best super middleweight Great Britain from day one. He would say it since I turned pro. And then just calling at anyone. Obviously, there's politics a lot in boxing, but who to fight and who trying to build. And then I remember they gave me a decent fight straight away. A guy called Sadiq,
right?
Where he was like, he used to box for his Nigerian team, and when he was an amateurs, and he was like, this seemed the next big thing. But alhamdulillah, I beat him, and then they gave me the Southern Area title as a reward. That's what Frank Warren said.
Right.
So,
how quick was that? Because Southern Area is pretty serious as well, right? So how many fights?
My 5th fight.
No way. Wow. Okay, that was pretty in the deep end.
Yeah, they're trying to move me quick. Then after that, I remember I did. I said I wanted the English title next, but the English title was available. So what happened instead? I got a fight at light heavyweight for a British title eliminator on my 9th fight, I believe.
Okay, so at this stage, were you fighting at 168?
Yeah.
And what's light heavy?
175.
Wow.
So against a guy who was in Team GB as a heavyweight, and he came but on the night of the fight, he probably was like a cruiserweight heavyweight. I managed to drop him in round 2, knocked him down.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I was training for fitness.
Right.
I was training for strength more than fitness.
Right.
But I still believe I won that fight because
it went to decision.
Points.
Right.
I still believe I won it, but they gave it to him. But because he's Welsh, he had Joe Kawasaki there as well and supporting him. As I said, and then that's when me and my father realized there's a lot of politics in boxing.
Yeah. But who made that fight? Because to fight someone like literally 2 weight classes above you, is this something that you were calling up for? Is it put to you and you're like, I'll fight anybody?
I'll fight anybody. We didn't understand the game. We were fresh in the business. We didn't understand the politics behind it. We just thought you win, you fight, you win.
Yeah.
You fight, get more money. It comes.
And in your mind, are you thinking you can just beat anyone who, if it's 2 weights above or 3 weights, you don't care?
I mean, I was knocking people out in sparring. That's how I actually got popular in boxing, because what my dad would do, secretly film me knocking people out in sparring, calling out anyone sparring. I've sparred George Groves.
I thought they said what state goes in the gym stays in the gym, but that doesn't apply.
Secretly film me sparring George Groves, sparring James Gill, sparring Eubank, and I'd beat them up and he'll post it online.
Wow.
I think a lot of people hate things about that, but that's what got me my contract with Frank Warren.
Yeah.
So, and now I don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't film myself sparring because of it. I made myself a name. But when I first started, I had to do it, and And as I said, boxing is a selfish sport, so you got to look after yourself. And a lot of people obviously say, "Oh, you shouldn't film sparring, you shouldn't post it, you shouldn't that." But how else am I going to make it?
Yeah,
and
because
it's worth it in the end.
You got to get your name out. Then
exactly,
it's something we see with the fight. We were talking about this, and you've mentioned the business side of it.
Yeah.
You could be a great fighter, but if no one knows you, then that's not going to get you your contract. Not going to get you the bigger purses. You got to get popular and put bums on seats.
Speaking good about you or speaking bad about you, they're still speaking about
you.
Yeah. And that's what boxing, as that's what we realize. It's an entertainment business.
Yeah.
So it's all about money. It's all about entertainment and bringing eyes to TV.
Yeah. And if I may say, Zach, I mean, since I started following you, which is a few years back now, it just seems like the last 3 or 4 fights, maybe even before, by the sounds of it now, it's all you've had it the hard way. Where even though you're with Frank Warren and most recently with Boxer perhaps on your last, it seems like every fight you had, you're expected to lose, and you keep doing almost in some people's like the unthinkable, and you keep winning. Yeah, you kept winning. Yeah, no, but is that how it was?
If you look at my record, and over half of my fights are from unbeaten opponents. So I've always found unbeaten, undefeated, and I've defeated undefeated. I've had it the hard way from the beginning, and it's stuck that way, and it was alhamdulillah. But it's given me experience to know what to do in the future and how to play it. Yeah.
So let's just talk about some of these. The first time I saw you fight, I think it was a Sims fight.
Anthony Sims,
and Anthony Sims, who great pedigree from what I understand, and he was. I remember just recalling the sort of promotion of that fight. It was, again, even from your promotional side, that you're like, it's a 50-50 at best, or Sims was expected to beat you.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was being positioned.
He was like a Matchroom's golden boy when he was with Matchroom.
Yeah.
He had, I think, like 23 fights, 21 knockouts. He seemed that, and they're trying to build him again. And I heard behind the scenes that he was given a 2-fight deal, and he's given a quite substantial amount of money. Yeah. And they were promising him, if he beats me, he'd go down to middleweight to fight Liam Smith.
Yeah.
After Liam Smith beat Eubank. But I ruined the plans, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
I beat him. Yeah, nobody thought I was
They've got to rewrite the script every time.
No one thought I was going to win, and I managed to beat him, and I beat him quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
So that was a great fight. So that was the first time I see, and I just remember this big overhand rights coming, raining down him, and they did a what hit him. But tell us your English title. Tell us a bit about that, sort of how that.
Also, that fight, they thought I was going to win. It was me against a guy called Jermaine Brown. He was the English champion at the time, and I was fighting for his title. Me and him actually went to the same amateur club, so I knew I could beat him because I sparred him a few times when it was amateurs. Most people believe that he'd win.
Yeah.
I proved them wrong again. I beat him quite easily.
Yeah. And then you lost that title.
And then I lost that title last year in Manchester to Mark Jeffers.
Yep.
Yeah, some days you don't have a good day.
Yeah, and tell me about it, because obviously winning and losing is part of life. It's part of the game of boxing as well. But how after that sort of defeat, what's the mindset of a fighter when you've done really well? You're the defending champion. You lose that title. We're going to talk about the Simpson fight in a bit more detail as well. But losing that English title, how do you deal with that mentally?
Well, there's a lot of things which I learned from it. For example, that fight was actually meant to be just for the Silver Commonwealth title. It was a new title. But because it was a 10-round fight and I was at own weight, I means I lost my own title, technically. But I wasn't told that before.
Right.
If I was managing myself at the time, so I made a few mistakes. What I should have done is not... Because I was in line to fight for the British and Commonwealth title against Mark Heffron.
Right.
But Mark Heffron pulled out 2 weeks before the fight. And he has the same manager as Mark Jeffers.
So okay,
I didn't realize back then. But then when at that time, I was training hard. I want to fight.
Yeah, you just want to fight whoever's put in front of you.
And then now I'm hearing stories. He had been training for me for months. This new guy, and then Heffron pulled out, and then.
So I want to touch on that. Okay, sorry if I may, Zach. So you found out who your opponent is relatively late, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
But your opponent knows that they're going to be fighting you way before. So again, this is all.
I didn't know about this though, but they sort of been planning because they have the same manager.
And this is the sort of dark side.
The guy, Sky Sports, the guy who runs it in boxer, said to me, "Are you sure you want to take this fight? Why don't you take it at a different weight class, or why don't you don't fight for your title, or just wait until your actual opponent gets ready and you can fight?" I was like, "No, I want to fight now.
Yeah,
and that was my mistake. And then unfortunately, when I was in the ring, you just sometimes have a bad day in the office. I do believe I'll beat him in a day of the week.
Yeah, so even though you've lost, in your mind, you know it was just a bad day. You didn't have any of these sorts of, oh man, this is it now, or you're in a dark place, or you just
I
bounce back.
If you genuinely lose and you're giving it all and you try your best and you actually lose, then that really affects you. But if you lose and you know you could have done better and you could have done more,
Yeah.
that makes you carry on.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, I knew I had to do more. But also I thought about it. I was like, what's the point when this is Allah's plan?
Yeah.
If Allah has a plan for it, there must be a reason for this. I'm going to trust the plan of Allah. And it actually came up better for me. I ended up meeting my wife, ended up getting married, and then I became British and Commonwealth champion. Wow, that guy who beat me was fighting for his defending his English title, same night as me on the same show.
It was, if I can call it redemption. Yeah. You sort of, as said, Allah's the best of planners, and you went on to reclaim, got the British Commonwealth. Again, just talk us through that sort of that fight and how that went for you.
That was with a guy called Zak Chelli, who I previously fought before, but I beat him. Right. They gave it a draw because it was Eddie Hearn's back garden, and he was the guy who sells the most tickets.
You're right.
And that's another time when I had politics of boxing. Yeah. About who sells the most tickets, they'll try favor. But alhamdulillah, it was a draw. But I was like, what, that's Allah's plan.
Yeah.
A few years later, Allah gave me the same guy back, and I beat him unanimously.
And you got your titles.
And taking the titles off him. So alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and we're gonna touch upon the Simpson fight.
3 years, that one.
That was wow,
like,
mashallah.
You have to be patient. So.
Yeah, that's what you've got to be. And as we're going to talk about the Simpson fight in a bit, but you mentioned, when you had that defeat, you knew it was Allah's plan. And since we've sort of first met, what we love about you is how real you are, and you don't shy away from. You could get past as an Italian, as an English guy, but you're very proud of your Tunisian roots and your religion and Islam. And you've mentioned, having this mindset of Allah's plans, win or loss, and you've mentioned this in previous interviews. So, how has Islam sort of helped you in your boxing and generally shaped you as a person?
Well, Islam makes you disciplined. You got to pray 5 times a day, certain times. People say, "I'll pray them anytime." No, there are certain times you got to pray them, otherwise you miss them.
Yeah.
And that's like boxing. You got to wake up a certain time to go for your run, otherwise you miss the run schedule. Yeah. Then you got to eat at a certain time to make way for the next session of training. So I think Islam and boxing actually go hand in hand quite with each other. And so that's why it makes me very disciplined and a good Muslim. Yeah. And also I know whatever happens is always the plan of Allah. Allah controls everything. Yeah. So if it does not happen, it doesn't happen. If something happens, it happens.
And that just makes it so much easier to deal with adversity and challenges because it's from Allah.
All you can do is tie your camel and leave it to Allah. So,
And was this sort of that mindset and your love and dedication to Islam, was that from a young age? Was that in the family sort of? Because I know you mentioned your dad's Tunisian, mum's Italian. So was this just in the household? Islam was always there?
Always praying. I remember dad praying. So I was praying. I remember my dad used to always take me to the mosque every Fridays. Yeah. And sometimes I'd fall asleep. I was young, I was like 5, 6 years old, fall asleep. The Imam would be talking too long. In Arabic, I wouldn't understand anyway. So I'd take a little nap. I just enjoyed going there, and we'd be wrestling with other people there in the carpet. Yeah. So it was a nice experience. And my dad would put Quran on in the car there and back. So now I do it myself. I put Quran on in the car. So it's nice, relaxing. Yeah. Just always been part of my life.
Yeah, brilliant. And then you mentioned recently you found your wife, you got married. So just tell us a bit about that. How did that sort of happen?
Well, honestly, I just like about 2 years. No, got married a year ago. But a year before that, so 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? I want to have a wife. So I remember it was Ramadan, and every day I'd go to the mosque and do Taraweeh. Yeah. And I'd pray, oh Allah, grant me a beautiful wife, grant me a beautiful wife, grant me a beautiful wife. I'd say blonde hair and blue-eyed. I'd actually pray for those things. Yeah. And then Ramadan went, and alhamdulillah, I found my wife, she's blonde hair, blue-eyed.
Look at that.
So it's beautiful, and I had a nice, easy wedding. And everything it's been going great. A year went past
like that. So enjoying married life. Has it changed you as a person, do you think?
It's maybe more soft, I'd say.
It's softer,
more soft. So, yeah.
But this is what, like I said in the introduction, you're probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met in this sport, right? Just genuinely real sweet. And obviously, when you enter that ring, we've seen you turn into a monster. Yeah. And now, if I may, you're going to be a father soon as well. That's going to make you more softer, right? People are going to be lining up to fight you.
That's the plan. I want to get the life sorted, my roots and the house sorted, and then once they're comfortable, I'm going to get back in the gym, get back into being me and knocking people out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
So it's I guess it's hard, isn't it? We touched upon this before when we were discussing. Like you're married now, you got to look after that pretty face of yours even more now, right? Because you've got to go back to your wife, and when you've got a child as well, inshallah coming soon, more responsibility. Maybe more distraction. So how are you going to, and you've talked about once, inshallah, baby's born, you're going to get back into the gym focus. How are you going to keep that focus and dedication? Because getting married is a good distraction. having a child is another distraction, because trust me, I've had 4, and when my ones were small, you just want to play with them all day long, you know. And,
I've got a little cat at home. I play with all day long anyway,
so you're used to it. You're used to it.
Yeah, but I believe it's going to motivate me more to work harder, especially for my. Inshallah, I have lots of kids.
Inshallah,
pave the way for them and help them live comfortably. So
Yeah.
I know I'd have to work hard. I'm ready to start to work hard. I'm back in training. I'm running every day, training hard every day. I've got my 6-pack back, so if anyone wants to fight, I'm ready.
You're ready, right? It's calling at everyone at the moment.
I'd love to have a rematch actually with my last fight.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. That's a nice way of leading on to this. So, look, again, this was the first sort of time, and we were grateful for the opportunity. So, thank you, Zach, for letting Legal Blows sort of be a part of this incredible journey. And yes, the result didn't go your way and our way, but you know that whole experience was amazing for us, and seeing you really close up, getting to know you better. But just tell me, because again, looking at it from the outside, the whole Simpson fight, the odds were stacked against you from day one. Not because of the opponent, but everything we were seeing from before. Like, you're the champ. Everyone should be coming to your backyard. Why is it that you, as the British and Commonwealth champion, had to go all the way to Barnsley to have that fight?
Well, as I said, boxing is a business, and at the end of the day, they care about money. They don't actually care about the boxers. And logistically, he sells well up north. He sells lots of tickets. So they thought, okay, why don't we put a show in his hometown? And he did pretty well. He's managed to sell 7,000 within 2 days. So logistically, I understood why. I did hope the promotion side of it, they show a bit more of me, but they kept building him, and they put all their cards on him. Even like there was other things, many things I'd say in the background which never went my way.
But you might not say it, but I probably can, right? But so we were there. We travelled up, and I was, again, quite surprised about the hotel you were put in, for example. I think even on fight night, you were there earlier because of the time that was told. And, you know, I was sat with your father in the hostile environment. It just, as I said, it just felt like everything was being made more tricky. And I think Nagano mentioned this with the AJ fight, how he ended up coming to the stadium a lot earlier, had to wait around an hour before AJ showed up. And at the weigh-in, you know, you were there because you were told this is the time it's going to kick off. This time you're going to be up on the scales. And we're waiting. And then Callum ends up coming 30 minutes before, and you've already been there for an hour. So are these little tactics, again, that are just used to frustrate and annoy?
I believe so. But in my mind, I was set for, let me get this ring and let me just win. And then I proved it wrong. But alhamdulillah, as I said, alhamdulillah, we'll see what happens in this time. So.
And then, okay, let's move away from that. This episode of the Legal Blows podcast is powered by Sunnah Shot. Check out Sunnah Shot for the amazing healthy shots and smoothies expertly crafted with a blend of ashwagandha, shilajit, black seed, and halal bovine collagen. This unique combination is designed to strengthen your immune system, fight inflammation, and enhance your overall well-being. Start your journey to better health today. Take a shot and feel the difference. Let's talk fight night. Yeah. So we were there, sitting literally right in all the Barnsley, the Simpson fans were right behind us. I was with your dad, bless him. You know, it was a hostile environment. When you're sort of getting ready to come out, we see you in your robe, and I want to, because it's an amazing kit you got. You know, we love your fight, and I see the flags on there as well and everything. But when you're hearing these Barnes 7,000 strong, who are you, and intimidating, throwing stuff at you as well as you're walking, how did that affect you in any way?
It didn't. I don't know. I wanted to laugh at the situation. I enjoyed it, but it took. I think it distracted my mind from the fight. Yeah. I don't know, but it should be part of it. I did expect it though, so I can't say it distracted me or affected me in the fight because I expected it. Yeah. Regards to the fight, I'd say there was many different things which built up to the fight which affected me different. I know on the ring I could have done a lot better. That's why I would love to have rematch on the different grounds. It's one reason why I'm upset. There was no rematch clause for this fight. Yeah. I believe there should have been, or even there should have been a clause where another way to build him back up. But as I said, snakes and ladders, and inshallah,
inshallah we look
and get the ladder.
Yeah, look, and say, inshallah, we know you're going to be back and back stronger. But again, just focus on that, the actual fight itself. So when on the day before the weigh-in, you're sort of squaring up to Callum Simpson. I'm thinking, Zak's got this 110%. You look the same sort of size and everything. The minute Simpson comes out, and I just see he takes off his robe or whatever, he looked twice the size of you. And I remember saying to my boy, I think it was Musa was with me or Yahi was with me, and I said, the size of this guy. Tell me about that, because from what I've heard, as a 168 that's the division, right? You probably walk around at 174 anyway. So on fight night, you're probably about 172. What were?
Yeah, probably about 78 kilos. Yeah.
Again, I've heard that Callum was like 200 pounds on fight night. Yeah. How is that a fair fight when you've got someone?
There's no rehydration clause in British boxing, British border control. I think there is, in, as you said,
one of the belts do it, but not all.
But they don't. Maybe that should be a thing they should implement. But then again, I think he done everything by the rules. He done everything fair, so I can't really.
Yeah, we're not saying he not at all. But from a pure objective perspective, it just seems like within the rules, there's something that's not right. You can't have two fighters on weigh-in day weighing the same, and then on fight night, I think they're called weight bullies. Come in at so much heavier because, again, like having seen the fight, I said this to you before, it wasn't as wide as the scorecards. No way. You were popping him and you were hitting him, but the some of the punches were just bouncing off him because of his size. So we're sort of thinking if Simpson was 172 pounds or the same as what you weighed I think it would have been a different story. But he had that weight advantage, and no one can say that wasn't an advantage.
So also, I feel that when I used to box more aggressively. I used to have more power in me. I do feel my power, as I said things before, the fight during, I'll say power diminished a bit, but I know what to do to get my power back now. I know what to do to get my fitness back. I know how to be more focused. Also, usually when, as I said before, I used to train with my dad. And I used to be at home training, and all I'd do is train and be at home, and that would actually get me more angry. So when I was in the ring and someone would hit me, it'd get me even more angry, and I hit them back. Whereas now I've got a family, and I was mainly worried about my wife and more thinking about that. And now when I'm getting hit, I'm thinking I want to get back home to my wife and let me stay up. It wasn't more that fighter mentality. So as I said, I believe boxing also is 90% mental. So I think I got a few things which I learned from that fight. So alhamdulillah, I'm actually grateful for a few things I need to change. I need to get my aggression back. I need to get my power back, and I need to get my mentality back. And now I know the things I need to do to get those things back, and I'm going to stick to that. So I believe you're going to see a difference at Chell and Anand coming out in the next fight, inshallah.
Yeah, no, inshallah. And so that's really interesting because I think from every adversity, every challenge, every setback, it seems like you're learning, and this is going to motivate you to do even better. And I think you've sort of already seen where you could have improved. And as I said, it's tough, and I don't envy any fighter because when you're on your own, you probably don't care, right? You get hurt, you get bruised, but in your back of your head, you just want to go home to your family, your beautiful family now, and inshallah with the kids as well, a child coming as well. But now you talked about your father a bit, and obviously he's been an instrumental role in getting you to where you were and getting you into boxing. That sort of working with him, and I was next to him on fight night, and mashallah, he was just praying, and after fight, I see the hurt in his eye. Obviously, as a parent myself, inshallah, you will experience this soon. It's only a father who wants his son to do better than he does. I say this all the time, and the amount of love that a father or parent has for you, no one else can replicate that or love in the same way. So just sort of working with him and that support that he's shown you throughout, what does that mean for you? And your mother, of course, who chooses you got your suit and all of that. That's beautiful,
Make sure everything's ironed. Well, my parents, the big supporters. Always since day one, since my amateur days, they're always preparing everything, make sure I'm eating well, make sure clothes are right, they're on time and everything's going well. I do see now that obviously they have to take a bit of a step back because obviously I'm married now, I have a wife, and but they're still getting involved. So it's all blessed. I'm my parents every weekend. We're having a nice dinner.
Mashallah.
See my father for lunch every Fridays before we go to the mosque together. So my father still plays a major role, and inshallah we'll get that aggression back inside of me. And I'll be back to be my strength and being a fighter.
So that leads us on to, I think, nicely in terms of next steps for Zak Chelli now. What are you thinking? What's the plans? I mean, you're already in the gym and training, but what do you see going on?
I guess it's the open slate for me. It's a clean slate, so I could work with any promotion. I'd love to fight abroad. That'd be one big thing I love to do because I see how boxing is growing now in the Arab countries, in Saudi and UAE. I'd love to get myself out there on a new scene and start knocking people out. I'd love to go for a nice different type of title. I can go for WBA African title, WBC African, because I'm got a Tunisian, British and Italian passports. So I could have a Mediterranean title. That was a new slate, and obviously I'd love to have that rematch with Simpson. I don't think he would take it.
I don't think he's going to make that weight, even at 168. So and he won't want that smoke if it's.
But here's the thing: if if there is a good money and a good fight for me, even at middleweight, I believe I could make middleweight.
So okay. So now again, we've had this sort of pre-discussion on this. So as going at super middleweight, and you've got another fighter who weighs in the same but 200 pounds on the night, you carry on when you're walking around day to day. How much are you weighing when you're not in camp or not training?
At the moment, I'm not in camp. I'm probably about 79 kilos, which
79,
is
right.
3 kilos over the fight weight.
Right. So you're not a big super middleweight. You're not someone who needs to cut or anything. So if you were to come down a weight and get into this middleweight division, you can probably cut that weight and get to there relatively easy. Is that
I
fair
so.
assessment?
I believe harder than getting super middleweight. I mean, I'd have to take out the sweets and chocolates, but I could do it.
Because even the what was it, the dinner you went with the boxing, it was a 3-course meal, and Simpson's not eating anything, and you're like,
I had the whole food.
all the 3 course.
I still believe at super middleweight, I could still be top level and do the damage. But maybe there's a new opportunity for me at middleweight as well. If the right money, the right people, the right opponent.
So just seeing what the future, but you're not ruling out middleweight, and the middleweight division is a good division at the moment. But again, we were saying, I think you'll do a lot of damage in that division. So and you'll be going in as a big middleweight, I would assume, because you carry that power, devastating power. So everything's open. Sort of the Middle East, as you know, I'm sort of Middle East second home for me. And then we've seen boxing grow so much there. Do you follow much of the sort of boxing? You've seen what's going on with Riyadh season, Abu Dhabi as well, boxing shows in Dubai more and more. So that sort of desire to fight out there, is that something that you would want to do long term, sort of keep fighting out there? Or where do you see yourself playing that role in the Middle East?
That's where the money's at. And at the end of the day, everyone's doing boxing for money, no matter what they say. So why would you want to get hit in the face for free for a few belts?
That gather the dust and don't pay the bills, right?
Exactly, Obviously, I want to be a champion. I still have that dream to be a world champion. I've completed one of my dreams. My dream was to be a British and co-world champion. Alhamdulillah, I've done that. Next step is a world champion, and I still believe I have the potential to do that. I know I have to correct. That's why, alhamdulillah, when you don't lose, you learn.
Yeah,
so I've learned a lot from this, and just like I learned last year when I lost my English title, I learned and became the British champion. So this year I've learned a lot, and inshallah this will push me forward and to better things. So with Dubai and Saudi, I'd love to fight out there, see a different scene, and possibly build on that, and maybe make a big fan base out in Dubai and build it out there. Because at the moment they need boxers out there, don't they? They need some big names.
They need boxers out there, and I think you sort of tick all of those boxes. Mashallah, good-looking guy, the Arabic sort of background and all of that. But would you sort of do, if you were to fight out there, camp out there? Because there's some really good gyms out there, now boxing gyms out there with a good setup, good coaches. So, or would you train here, fight out there, or train and do the whole camp there?
I could do anything really. We'll see what the options are. That's the good thing about being a free agent. The opportunities are endless. So I'm looking forward to what the future holds, and I'd love to do a camp out there. It might be too hot during the summer, but
I think boxers like the heat, right? Fighting in that
might build it. It'd be easy for weight loss, I guess.
Especially if you've got to do middleweight. And Zak, just tell me, like, in terms of, we talked about the dirty side of the sport, and now you're going to. So Zak, you talked about the sort of some of the dirty side of boxing, and like things that you would maybe do differently. As you know, with Legal Blows, we're about helping the fighters outside of the ring. We can't, unfortunately, help you with the coaching or the strength conditioning. That's not our thing, but sort of looking after the boxers' interests outside the ring, so you're getting the best possible outcome from a financial perspective, or just protecting your interests, I guess. And you mentioned it is about the money. You now, mashallah, with the family as well, you've got to, titles is great, but you want to be financially secure your family as well. So how important is it to have a good team around you to help outside of the ring as well?
Yeah, that's very important. That's why Legal Blows is very grateful to you guys. In the ring, all the stuff outside the ring will help you in the ring. So if because during the fight, obviously your mind goes through different things. And now if everything's sorted for you outside of the ring, you can finally just focus on that fight. Even with training, you don't have to worry about whether bills are being paid for or this. You can just focus on training, focus on your fight, focus on your nutrition. That's why I think outside of the ring is very important, because as I said, boxing, I say, is like 90% mental. If you're there mentally strong, you could beat someone who's probably strong or fit than you if they're not mentally strong. It's all about mental, how you use your tactics. And if you know everything's secured for you and you've got a great team behind you, they're supporting you, and everything's set in stone, then you can start building and winning those fights.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And again, it's easy to work with someone like yourself who just gets that as well. And I'll give an example. And this podcast, this episode, is sponsored by Sunnah Shot, who sponsored you for your last fight as well. And when we speak to fighters on the commercial side of it, and sort of we're trying to get these sponsorships, the fighters do a little shout out, and then they forget the sponsor. We were really sort of amazed about how you went full in with Sunnah Shot, and the brother Hussein is my namesake Adil. He was really happy with the way you promoted his sort of brand and his product. So just on that commercial side, was that something that you're conscious about? So when you get a sponsor, for example, is it, oh great, we've got the money and then we forget about them? We know it's not like that, but just expand on that, because some of this was all, we didn't have to say anything. You were just doing this out of your own sort of accord.
Yeah, for some boxers it is like that. They just get sponsored. It is what it is, and that. But for me, like when someone sponsors me, it means they want to help me build. So I'm very grateful for that. So I generally did look into Sunnah Shot's products, and I'm actually going to give it a shout again. Their products are really good. They're actually great products, even the ingredients inside of it. So I looked into it. I saw how passionate he was about his business and how he traveled away to give me drinks and stuff like this. So I was very grateful, and I did my best to help him promote his products, because I do genuinely believe in them.
Yeah, and they're delicious and very good for your health.
I mean, I did get an offer to buy a different sponsorship. I'm not going to get too much into it, but it was a different type of drink, an unhealthy drink, and I did turn them away because I can't get sponsored by something I don't actually believe in. Like if someone came to be sponsored by like a pork company, I say no, I don't believe in it. Like with Sunnah Shot, so I genuinely believe in them, and I would drink it on a daily basis. Whereas this energy drink, I wouldn't drink it. Even the name of it, I wouldn't associate myself with.
Because it falls foul of ethical and religious.
So no matter how much money they offered me, I still said no.
See, that's really interesting, because in the day and age we live in, it's all about the money, and it's all good being Muslim and following, you're doing your prayers, but when it comes to money, kid you not, most people, unfortunately, it's like religion goes out the window. And again, something that really attracted us to you was how proud you were of being a Muslim. And we're about trying to foster role models, or not have role models, so the next generation can look up to. And now with yourself, mashallah, you represent everything that we stand for. We love that about you, and I think you're inspirational to, all the next generation. With your platform and being in the position you are, where you've got, thousands of followers now, people do look at you as someone that they may want to follow as a boxer, as a person, as a character. Mashallah, your parents have done a wonderful job in raising you. You're such a sweet kid, Do you see this as a responsibility, an added responsibility? The boxing side is one thing, securing your family financially is one thing, but do you think there's a wider purpose and responsibility for you?
I guess so, but even when people are watching and people are not watching, Allah's always watching. So no matter what, I'll always got to be myself and be responsible, because when, let's say, there are people out there who have 1,000 followers and they'll do one thing for their followers, but behind doors they'll do something else. Or take these certain deals and pretend they never did it. But I know of all times Allah watched. Even if I've had 1 follower or 0 followers or 1,000 followers or 1 million, I'm always going to be the same, because Allah's always watching, and that's the only one I need to watch me.
No, that's a beautiful thing. As I said, just being so grounded like that, and knowing, as Muslims, we know our rizq is fixed, right? So you can make it through a haram sponsor, a halal one, and other doors will open up for you. So Zak, I mentioned, when on the fight kit we saw, I think it was 3 jurisdictions: UK, Tunisia, and Italy. Is that correct? Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So obviously you're a Brit. I'm a Brit. We were born and raised here, but you've got obviously the Tunisian link and the Italian link. So, and I think you were recently in Italy last week, or so. I had a great holiday there, by the looks of it. Tell me, Tunisia. Let's start with Tunisia. And I've seen some lovely footage. It's obviously so heartwarming. You go back, belts there. You go to your grandmother. Yeah. What's your view? How do you feel about Tunisia, the people of Tunisia, and how they sort of react to you?
Well, they're all my father's hometown. That's what I can speak of. They all support me. They all back me. I mean, last time I was there, they had a little parade for me down the main souk.
Souk market.
Souk market. I don't know how to say it in English, but so Medina.
Medina del Souk or Souk al Medina or something like this.
It's where all the shops are. They have a parade for me, and so they're all behind it and back it. They want to see a champ, and mainly because they see. I think they see me as a Tunisian, as one of their own, who's out and abroad and making it.
Yeah.
Whereas also
So
seeing that
so do they
next year.
see you as one of their own?
I believe so, yeah.
And when you're back, do you feel as you are one of their own?
I feel 50% one of their own. So half of me.
Yeah.
Like 50% mean I understand where they're coming from.
You
and
can
I
relate to
resonate and relate to it. So yeah. And if it does feel good, it's a lovely country, like especially when you get to know the people and the locals and they don't see you as a tourist. That's
Yeah.
always best.
And are you an Arabic speaker? Do you speak Arabic?
Shway. I understand it.
okay.
Like my grandma would send me to go get some khubz.
Yeah.
So I go to shop.
you get
Atini khubz, mandish flus.
So you know how to get through.
I had to get through it. Yeah.
And obviously your dad was a fighter, and you're
Yeah.
Tunisian, sort of 50% fighter. Any other athlete? Anyone else there in sort of athletes, in whether it's boxing or anyone that the people of Tunisia can look up to?
That tennis player, that female tennis player. What's her name? Uns.
Oh, I'm not a tennis fan, Zach, so
No,
you're gonna have to educate me.
Last year she got silver at Wimbledon.
Okay.
So yeah, but she's pretty popular out there. So like
Right.
sport, they really back people at sport because not much comes out from us, a country like that who they don't. The main focus is not sport. The government don't put a lot of funding into
Yeah.
sport. So when they do have people come out with sport, even tennis or football or boxing, they do generally seem to back them.
Back them, yeah, and it's sort of so important. So you can almost pave the way. We're talking about inspiring the next, and you can inspire a whole nation here.
Yeah.
You know, literally, if you have that opportunity and if you want to, I guess. So, yeah, that's
A lot of them coming over in boats. Unfortunately, they're going on a boat and going to Italy. Come over. But here's the thing: a lot of people complain. But if I was born in Tunisia and I see what opportunity abroad, and even for boxing myself, I guess I'd have to see the book myself. So
yeah.
Can't really complain at them. But
Everyone's after a better life, right? So
after the but obviously, if you come in and buy a boat, you better work. You better work your hard, and not just come and claim the
the asylum, and all of that, yeah.
Oh, if I was there to come on a boat, I'd work hard. So,
So then the Italian side, the other, I don't know whether to call it 50% now or 25 because we've got the UK Britain side of it as well.
Yeah.
But in Italy, obviously, your mother's Italian. Have you got other family there as well?
A lot of family down there. Actually, I was there 2 weeks ago, saw some family as well.
Okay,
So,
where in Italy?
around Nocera is close to Salerno.
Okay.
Which is close to Amalfi Coast, which is close to, I don't know, it's a bit.
It's right, okay.
Pompeii, Napoli.
Right,
around
okay,
this area,
okay.
And I was actually stayed at my grandfather's old house. He was
So this is your
my
mother's
mother's father.
okay.
Unfortunately, sadly, he passed
And
away.
how are you received in Italy then? Because like in Tunisia, they treat you as one of your own. In Italy, are you one of their own as well?
Italy is a lot bigger of a
Yeah,
country,
of
and
course.
there's a lot more athletes and a lot bigger things. So I'm not as recognized. Whereas when I
Yeah.
go to Tunisia, I am recognized.
Everyone's, yeah.
But in Italy, I'm not as recognized. But when I was there, I do see elements of my mother there, so it does feel a bit homely.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know. But for me, it's always been a mixture of things. But when I'm back in London, that's where I feel home.
That's home. But where's the Italian at the linguistically?
Linguistically, yeah, we speak.
You
Italian
speak
at
from
home.
okay.
Yeah, so I do speak and understand Italian. Yeah.
And I know when since you come in, sort of you're being careful now because like you're gonna get back in more. You're back in the gym now training. But food wise, Tunisian sort of Arabic Mediterranean food or the pizza pastas of Italy.
It's Italian food.
All of it, all the way.
My
Yeah.
dad's like now cooking Italian food. He learned from my mum, so I have pasta every day.
Yeah.
I have a pasta with tuna and broccoli, or pasta with salmon, or pasta with courgette, or pasta with zucchini. So yeah, it's always it's all
All good.
or mushroom. So yeah, like it's always pasta with something. And with pizza, though, we're actually making ourselves. So we get flour, get the
Wow.
water. Yeah, I knead it myself. So my mum's making me do it since I was a kid because she had big, strong muscles to do the kneading.
Wow. So there's a chef there as well. You're a man of many hidden talents.
Yeah.
So Zach, one thing I did want to ask you about was your teaching career. I've heard some really hilarious stories earlier on today. So you had a stint at teaching. Please, you've got to elaborate. How did that come about, and where did you teach?
Basically, during the COVID, my mother and boxing took a toll of it because of COVID. So not much was happening. Mum was like, "Okay, you better get a job or you're getting out." I was like, fair enough. So I looked online for some jobs, and I thought, I was a recent graduate. I wanted let me look into teaching, and because teachers are dropping like flies because of COVID, they needed people quickly. So I did a quick online interview. They took me in straight away. I was like, "Oh, very good. You got a degree? Yes. Oh, very not. All right, start tomorrow." First job ever did was in an all-girls school. In East London.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine, but please go on.
So it's East London North School. So there's a lot of Muslim girls there.
Yeah.
Also, you have to wear your masks. And I remember one of my first days working there, and the girls were like, "Oh, sir, take down your mask, take down your mask." I took down my, "Oh, sir, you're cute." I was like, "We're catching no case here." So I remember when I first started teaching, I was all happy and giddy. And that's what I learned. Never be, if you're a supply teacher, supply teacher, never be happy. because they're gonna tear down the class. They're gonna take the mick. Oh, he's a supply teacher. Let's just mess around, not do the work. So from then on, I went in with a grumpy frown face, and bags off the table, bags on the table, sit down properly, put your blazer on, phones away. Always strict, and then they pay you more respect. So,
but this was your first time teaching, right? You've never done this before. And you're going into an all-girls school. And as I said, mashallah, you go in there. I can only imagine when you drop the mask and the comments that you must have got. Yeah. Did you find these young girls being distracted from the studies and focusing more on you than the books?
I got to wear my mask. But I remember the first couple months of teaching, I would give my name because I'd work in many different schools.
Right.
So I moved from some schools to others, mixed schools, all boys schools, and I say my name is Zak, and then they'd research my middle name. Oh, it's Mr. Chelli, and then they Google me and they found, oh, so you're a boxer, you're trained by that. They found all my information online. So going forward, I changed my name and say, no, my name is James. But I just give a false name, and so they wouldn't find out about me because the kids, they can find out everything.
Everything's online and it's all available now, isn't it?
Actually, a friend request from them on Facebook and even on Instagram. They'd follow me and then start messaging me.
You gotta,
obviously, I do have still some that do follow me on Instagram. Because they support from boxing and off you go. And
that's a level of, I guess, that's just fans, isn't it, or supporters, I guess. And what sort of subjects did you teach?
I've done everything from maths, music, geography, history. I've done every single GCSE subject, and even I've done some A-level subject, like A-level biology. I got to teach one of the lessons. Well, basically, I'd go into the classroom 10 minutes before the students come in.
Right.
The previous teacher would have left a PowerPoint of what they had to go through. So I'd quickly go through it myself in 10 minutes and study it and get all the information. And then when the students would come in, I put the PowerPoint and then explain it to them. So it taught me how to learn to read things quick and basic.
Think on your feet as well, right? Because as I said, there's probably some subjects. I don't know if you had your favorites, but like for me, maths and sciences, just keep away from them. So
that was one story I said when I had maths. I was teaching A-level maths. I never did I did AS maths, not A-level maths. And obviously I had the answers on the sheet. And there was one answer, and I was giving it to the students. I was boasting about, come on, guys, it's so easy. The answer is this, and I was writing it down. And then one question came up, and I never had an answer for it. And I was like, oh crap, what do I do now? And it took me literally 10 minutes to work out. And I remember I was working out, all the kids looking at me, confused, what's going on? Why is he taking so long? Finally managed to get it. And I was like, sir, why did it take so long? He's like, some are just harder than others in life. You got to learn this. Yeah, alhamdulillah, I managed to pull through, and it all worked out.
But so teaching was just a stopgap, and there's no real passion there, or you know anything like that.
Well, I did. I remember I worked from primary school, secondary school. I learned from primary school kids are really smelly, so parents out there, make sure your primary school kids wash their hands, especially their hands. They don't wash their hands at the toilet. Secondary school, not too bad, but I think the best for me was when I taught higher education. They used to respect, and I kind of banter with them. So it was great. But one of the toughest times for me, though, I was taught in an SEN school, special education needs, primary school, and it's really tough because some of these kids here, they not even responsive. Like you'll just speak to them, they don't understand what's going on. They'll be hitting themselves, biting themselves. It's just quite sad to see, and so I do feel for those parents and the teachers out there. So from this teaching job, big respect to teachers.
Yeah.
But I remember near the end of my teaching career, well, I'm done with it. I remember I just wanted to get back into boxing. I was like, I cannot be doing this 9 to 5, 8 to 4. For the rest of my life. So I started training again, started training harder to get back. And I remember I got a call for a fight. I actually just had surgery. I had like 5 months prior or 4 months prior, I had surgery on my bicep because I tore my bicep for front left hook. Bicep literally went popping on my shoulder. And the doctor told me to take a year off. And I was like, might as well because I'm teaching. But I was like, no way. I'm not teaching.
You're not teaching.
5 months in, I took that fight. And you can even see in the pictures of the fight. There's like this arm, biceps, half the size. I took the fight, knocked him out. That's how bad
you want it. I was going to say, because I get with teaching the eldest kids, as you said, the banter, that's all great. But as a fighter, teaching young kids, you got to have a lot of patience. And I don't think fighters have too much patience. Did you ever get to a stage where you want to give one to?
Give them that stare, like, lucky you're a kid. I could do that, but I might fail my DBS. But alhamdulillah, you do need a lot of patience. Especially some kids, they do want to try it. But once you learn you're a boxer. Some kids will actually even try it because you're a boxer.
Yeah.
I think kids nowadays, they have less respect for the elders. I remember when I was a student in secondary and primary school, like you see someone older, you have much respect for them. Now in schools, you see like a kid in year 7 challenge year 11.
Yeah, and it's almost when we were growing up, our parents used to say, your teachers are like your parents. Exactly. You got to respect that. Or your elders are like, so all of that's sort of changing now. Let's just say that. And any interest outside of boxing other sports you might play. We talked about, you could have been your tennis.
My dream as a kid actually was to be a tennis player. I watch Wimbledon every year.
Okay. Have you been and watched anything live or?
Yeah, I've been to a few.
Okay.
Yeah. So I used to watch Roger Federer growing up. Watching him win all of them. He was just the legend. He was the best. So it's quite sad to see him getting old and finishing.
Yeah, I felt the same about Boris Becker, who was my favourite, but that was a bit before your time. But yeah.
Isn't he in prison now for? No.
He might have.
Someone's in prison for tax evasion.
I think he was. Who is it though now? Right? I mean, I'd say who isn't in prison, but I think Khabib had to pay a big tax bill recently.
His house has been like taken over.
Yeah, account's frozen. I think he settled it now. But Ronaldo as well, Messi. I think.
No, so he's all right.
So yeah, everyone's under the spotlight when it comes to tax, aren't they? But so potentially tennis.
Tax lawyer,
I'm not a tax lawyer. I wish I was. I wish I was a tax lawyer because they get paid the most. Very expensive. But so tennis was something. Any other interest? What sort of? What do you like?
My dream was to be a pilot actually as well.
Okay.
But then I saw how much it cost to be one, so I forget about that. £1,000 just for the training and stuff. So 100,000 a year.
That much?
For the training, it was crazy.
Wow.
So I stayed away from that.
But it's fair enough. But you ended up doing something now.
Business management at uni. And so you can help with teaching. So you never know what the possibilities end. Luckily, I did business management. So inshallah, I'd like to open my own business one day. I'd like to open a restaurant. That's
okay.
Or a nice little bakery somewhere,
Not an Italian sort of...
Maybe Italian pastisserie, yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, wow.
I went to Italy recently and I had a lot of cakes. It's delicious. So they're the best. I was thinking if I could have that and just go in anytime I want to eat for free.
You got a balloon, maybe, Zach, unless you...
train every day.
Train every day.
I have realized this about myself. If I don't train, I get big quickly. So I think for the rest of my life, I'm going to be training.
You that motivation, don't you? That's brilliant. But look, Zach, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a real pleasure. Always is when we meet and see you. So thank you for sparing the time. We know you're going to be back bigger and stronger. So we're going to look forward to, inshallah, seeing what the future holds for you and supporting you all the way. Your family now. So you're stuck with us. So Jazakallah khair for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thank you, everybody. What a brilliant episode. Lovely to have Zak on with us. And inshallah, keep an eye out for Zak going forward. Some hopefully big news coming soon and we'll be back stronger than ever. And inshallah, we will see you on the next episode. Thank you.